A sick and twisted and demented Donald Trump is fleeing from Washington, D.C. as his regime burns and as he continues to try and burn down the United States and the rest of the world. He's fleeing to Mar-a-Lago to vacation yet again on the taxpayer dime, to golf, while he inflicts more pain and suffering and psychological torture on the American people in what is the least popular presidency in modern American history. Just look at this sickly, weak, pathetic, vile human being here before he leaves to go to Mar-a-Lago. And all he wanted to talk about were ballrooms, and we're building a massive ballroom, and the oil execs were over on Friday. Wouldn't it have been great if we could have more oil execs talking about carving up Venezuela? That's why we need a bigger ballroom, he says. That's what the American people are focused on. Donald Trump also making social media posts with promises that he's unable to fulfill, aka typical Trump fraud, which he's been doing his entire life. Donald Trump posted on his social media platform, "Please be informed that we will no longer let the American public be ripped off by credit card companies that are charging interest rates of 20 to 30% and even more, which festered unimpeded during the sleepy Joe Biden administration. Affordability." Didn't you just say last week that affordability is a hoax? Oh, we're heading into midterms and you're scared that your regime is about to crumble and you're about to get blown out in the midterms. So now you say affordability. What a phony and fraud you are. So what are you saying you're going to do? Effective January 20th, 2026, I, as President of the United States, am calling for a one-year cap on credit card interest rates of 10%. Coincidentally, the January 20th date will coincide with the one-year anniversary of the Trump administration. Oh my gosh, on January 20th, you are going to call for something? Is that like the Doge dividend checks? Is that like the tariff rebate checks? Is that like the healthcare rebate checks? Is that what you mean? Is that like when you say you're going to roll out your healthcare plan, or you're going to reduce drug prices by 1900% or implement most favored nations provisions so that American drug costs are as low as the lowest cost a pharmaceutical company charges overseas? It's just more fraud from you, Donald. Now, as Donald Trump, this demented, pathetic, vile piece of garbage, I don't know how else to describe him. You may have better words yourself, but as Donald Trump, we'll just leave it at that. I'll stop with the ad hominems. Donald Trump flees to go to Mar-a-Lago. He is accelerating and escalating the invasion of Minneapolis. It's not enough that the Trump regime Gestapo, their SS, Trump's paramilitary, murdered, say her name, Renee Nicole Good. Renee Nicole Good. Trump Gestapo shot her in the face. We saw that additional footage, the cell phone cam that Jonathan Ross, the killer, was holding up. He was holding up a cell phone while shooting her in the face. And she said, "I'm not mad at you, bro." He shot her in the face and then said, "fucking bitch," when he shot her. You all heard what he said. What a vile, vile act of cowardice. It was a murder. It was an execution before our eyes. But now Donald Trump is launching a full-scale war against Minneapolis and Minnesota. And Trump realizes, why do I even have to bother with the National Guard if I've created my own collectivos, if I've created my own SS, my own Gestapo, my own paramilitary, right? So Trump has his soldiers, his paramilitary, launching this invasion. There are already 2,000 of Donald Trump's Gestapo in the Minneapolis area. Just so you understand, there are about 600 MPD, Minnesota Police Department officers that are there. And compared to the 600, Minneapolis police officers, there are 2,000 Gestapo, Trump ICE and Border Patrol. Trump has ordered 1,000 more ICE agents and Border Patrol invade. He wants to provoke this community. The goal is to escalate and to try to create more pretext to declare martial law there. At the same time, Donald Trump ordered the U.S. Department of Agriculture to suspend all federal funding to Minnesota effective immediately. As Ryan Cooper says, that's not that far off from an act of war. We already talked about how Donald Trump previously cut off federal funding for child care services in Minnesota and 4 other blue states. Fortunately, on Friday, Judge Subramanian, a federal district court judge from the Southern District of New York, blocked Donald Trump engaging in this funding freeze or revoking federal funds for child care services. I just want you to think about that, right? Donald Trump's priorities: invading states, taking away child care services. It is so utterly disgusting, while he brags about his ballrooms. And I showed you him playing, show you with the umbrella saying, ballrooms for the oil execs. I played that for you.
Yesterday at the National Capital Planning Commission, there were some concerns that this 89,000 square foot structure, same height as this building, is going to dwarf it and overwhelm it. Do you worry about that?
They had a great meeting yesterday, a really great meeting, and people love it. They love the ballroom. We need it. If we would have had the ballroom today, we could have had all of the oil companies there. We don't have the space. So they've needed it for a long time. They've needed the larger building. And this ballroom will be the best anywhere in the world. There'll be nothing to compete with.
All right, now Donald Trump earlier in the day was talking about invading Greenland, saying he would do it the easy way or the hard way, but he's invading Greenland. Either you're going to give him Greenland, Denmark, or he's coming after you. This is what Donald Trump was doing as well. Play this clip.
I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
I thought it was important to note that the ExxonMobil CEO, who was in attendance, also said, I want to be very clear. It was a responsible thing to say. I mean, the guy said, Venezuela is uninvestable right now. He goes, unless there's a big change in this government, we ain't investing there with Delcy Rodriguez and with Diosdado Cabello. That's the Maduro regime. We're not investing in there unless the American people subsidize it to the tune of like $100 billion, or unless you put like boots on the ground to protect the investment if we actually build in Venezuela. Exxon's like, how can we build in Venezuela? What are you talking about? So while the Trump regime is involved in ballrooms, invasions, war against Venezuela, putting oil companies to extract resources, take a look at what some of the Trump regime cabinet officials are doing. New York Post reports the Labor Secretary, Lori Chavez-DeRemer, is under investigation for inappropriate relationship with an employee. There she is on the left. You see her partying on her Vegas trips. There she is on the right. These Trump Gestapo, these Trump cabinet officials, this is what they're doing, while the American people are psychologically tortured if they're fortunate enough to get a paycheck, living paycheck to paycheck, as Americans can't afford homes, as things are far more expensive. As we just saw in the latest job report, it's like the worst since the Great Recession. While all of that's going on, they're partying? The cabinet officials are out there partying in Vegas with their lovers? Here's the report. And this is from Murdoch's paper, by the way. Lori Chavez-DeRemer, Trump's labor secretary. Just think about that. The labor secretary, as we're in a job recession, as Americans can't find jobs, as AI is replacing people, data centers going up. Labor secretary Lori Chavez-DeRemer is like popping bottles in Vegas with her lover. What the hell's going on here? Let's read what this is about. She's under investigation following an explosive complaint alleging she's abusing her position by pursuing an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate. According to sources and documents reviewed by the Post, she also uses her DC apartment, according to the complaint, to be with this alleged lover twice in a hotel room while traveling. And a complaint with the Office of Inspector General also talks about her drinking in the office during work days and coming up with travel plans so she can party. Now, she denies these allegations, but the Trump regime is filled with liars. Now, I think it's a time where there's moral clarity that's needed. Let's talk about moral clarity for a moment. You've got the Washington National Opera saying enough is enough. They're leaving the Kennedy Center. They've been playing there since 1971. They ain't playing in a Kennedy Center that's now the site of criminal operations, vandalized with the name Trump on it. They ain't doing it. Let's talk about what's going on in the NBA, where the Timberwolves did a moment of silence for Renee Nicole Good. Say her name, Renee Nicole Good. And then the Timberwolves fans said, "Get out, Ice. Get the F out, Ice." Then after we heard from Steve Kerr, the coach of the Golden State Warriors, who commented on the Timberwolves fans. Play this clip.
Well, I'm glad that the Timberwolves, recognized, her life and the tragic nature of her death. And it's shameful, really, that in our country we can have law enforcement officers who commit murder and seemingly get away with it. It's shameful that the government can come out and lie about what happened when there's video and witnesses who have all come out and disputed what the government is saying. So very demoralizing, devastating to lose, anyone's life, especially in that matter. So it's terribly sad for her family and for her and for that city. And I'm glad the Timberwolves came out and expressed that sadness.
We also heard from Dave Matthews, who took time on his birthday to speak out on ICE and the murder of Renee Nicole Good. Play this clip of Dave Matthews, and he says it so perfectly. The calm delivery, everything about this Dave Matthews video, I think, is important for you to watch. Let's play it.
I don't want my taxes to pay for ICE, to masked thugs to roam our streets and terrorize our communities and rip families apart. We should be taking care of each other. We should be minding each other. We should be housing the homeless. We shouldn't be, throwing people to the ground. Which brings me to Renee Nicole Good, murdered in front of her fellow citizens in Minneapolis, murdered in the streets. And no matter what narrative this administration is trying to sell us, we can see the videos. Maybe if they show you one and they slow it down and they tell you where to look, you might think maybe there's a chance that the gunman felt threatened. But from most angles, near and far, looks like she was trying to get away. And he shot her 3 times in the head, murdered in cold blood. And this administration, these people who are trying to tell us not to believe what we see, it is so horrific. I don't understand how you can claim that she was ramming their cars or that she was attacking them. There's nothing to suggest that. And it's mind-boggling, and it's deeply upsetting to me and to so many people, and we can't just let it slide. To Trump, to Kristi Noem, to Stephen Miller, to Pete Hegseth, to Patel, to Bondi, to all of them, just deeply, deeply dishonest people. Just cowardly, shameful, dishonest people. Fuck them. They are revolting. Walking in my beautiful neighborhood, around my beautiful neighbors. I'm grateful to be here, but I'm deeply ashamed of this government and the way they're treating our neighbors outside and inside this country. It is horrific.
And here's what AOC has to say, what makes her different from J.D. Vance. Let's play this clip.
I understand that Vice President Vance believes that shooting a young mother of 3 in the face 3 times is an acceptable America that he wants to live in, and I do not. And that is a fundamental difference between Vice President Vance and I. I do not believe that the American people should be assassinated in the street. Thank you.
Now, speaking of J.D. Vance, I had the opportunity to interview Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, and here's what he told me about Vance. Let's play it.
He began rhetorically by saying, what's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on here. It is yet another example of how J.D. Vance has absolutely no core. That guy is profoundly and pathetically a weak human being, and he does whatever he thinks his boss wants him to do, whatever he thinks will curry him favor that day with Donald Trump. And he's also just absolutely wrong on how he's approaching the situation of keeping people safe in Minnesota. I know you didn't ask about it, but I hope you don't mind me just taking a minute on this, because we saw a tragic end of life in Minnesota where children were left without a mom, where a spouse was left without her partner. And what we need right now is not idiotic gaslighting from the sitting vice president of the United States, but we need a real thorough investigation as to what occurred. You know, because you've interviewed me. I used to be the attorney general of this Commonwealth, the chief law enforcement officer, and we dealt with these tragic situations where there was a law enforcement involved shooting. And the most important thing you can do is calm tensions in the community, conduct a thorough and complete investigation. And J.D. Vance also said later in that briefing that they were not going to participate in that. Kristi Noem said that too. By the way, another wholly unqualified person in a really important role. What we need right now is to end the gaslighting, end the lunacy of J.D. Vance's ridiculous statements, and instead have an investigation where you are able to get all of the evidence put forth, which is going to require the federal government to be participants in that process, and then bring about the truth to the community. The only way that you're going to restore faith and trust in the community is by making sure the community has the truth of what really occurred. And J.D. Vance did his job on behalf of Donald Trump yesterday, which was to block the truth from coming out, to make a community less safe instead of trying to create more safety and security in that area. J.D. Vance knows better, man. He should be ashamed of himself. And he's not. And I think that speaks to the weakness of his character.
And then finally, Tina Smith, the senator from Minnesota, said the following. Let's play this clip right here.
I know you've been at the scene of the shooting today. So, you know, you have that context yourself palpably. What do you see then when you see this video?
Well, I see a street that I have driven down myself probably hundreds of times. It's only a couple of miles from where I live, and the street that I visited today. First of all, you can see from this video that it is a lie to say that the officer was run over. And second of all, I could say I worked at the city of Minneapolis. I was the chief of staff. I've worked closely with law enforcement in my roles at state and local government. And I have never seen anybody describe as protocol holding a cell phone and taking video while you are simultaneously shooting a gun that ends up killing somebody. It's kind of unbelievable.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. And thanks so much for watching. We appreciate you.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.